So, remember my last video when I said I wasn't gonna take longer than 3 weeks to make my next video? Chroma Corps is an annual art challenge created by Sinix Design, where a bunch of artists of any style, media, and skill level do daily art challenges after submitting a character design that gives you a chance of being one of the 16 or so cadets picked to officially take part in the challenge. I think at this point it's safe to say there's something like over 1,000 participants in the challenge each year, so your odds of getting picked as a cadet are actually pretty low. Most people aim for the goal of being one of the roughly 200 entry standouts that are handpicked by Sinix himself. Everyone who doesn't become a cadet instead becomes a washout, and as a washout you can still participate in the challenge and follow along as much or as little as you want. So it's actually way more chilled, since the cadets are basically battling with each other every day for the title of Chroma Corps 2024 winner. I designed a cadet for this challenge back in 2022, and actually followed along as a washout last year, making it to about day 15 before I got burned out. This year though, I'm back and I thought it would be fun to make some videos as I take part. I probably won't do every assignment this time, just so I can give myself some time to work on other things and take some breaks. So Chroma Corps has a sort of law that determines the theme of the challenge each year. So this year it was Cute versus Grim, and the cadets would be split into two teams, Grim 9 and the Little Stars Club. So without further ado, let's get into my character design. Normally for something like this, I just like to write down whatever ideas come to mind first before I do any research or anything. So I came up with these, but after a little bit of exploration with each of them, I decided to go in a different direction. With those initial ideas out the way, I went back to the drawing board to think about what I actually wanted to get out of the challenge this year. If you've watched my channel before, you'll know I'm in the early stages of planning a comic, and I'm really trying to figure out a style for it that's both visually interesting but not time consuming. So I thought this was as good a time as ever to give that a shot. I also decided I wanted the character to have a magical element so I could test out a way of drawing magic, which will also be like a big feature in the comic. And I also just challenged myself to draw a woman, because I rarely do, and I could use the practice. So with these 3 features set in stone, I came up with these 2 ideas and gave myself 3 hours to draw something. I used the first hour and 15 minutes roughly to just make some quick character thumbnails. For the Vampire Pirate, I took inspiration from Visual K, as my sibling described the aesthetic as basically exactly what I needed. And for the Spirit Archer, I took heavy inspiration from the Soul Fighter event that came out in League of Legends around this time last year. The limited amount of time meant I only did 2 thumbnails for each, which is honestly not what you want to do when designing a character. There was way more to explore in terms of shape and silhouette, so that was my first mistake. Since I was trying out a new style, I decided to go with doing line art instead of just painting like I normally would, just to see if I could speed things up, hoping to follow the clean lines of my references. And the last unusual thing I tried to do was work grayscale to colour. I thought it might make things faster and give the design some punch in terms of values, because I really like artwork with like dramatic contrast and lighting. This was also my first time giving Clip Studio Paint a proper try, but it's almost the exact same as Photoshop when it comes to the art side of things, so it wasn't too hard to get used to. One cool feature about Clip Studio is the inbuilt poser, which was more convenient than opening up DAZ, so I tried it out and it was pretty easy and much faster to use. I know there are some other free models for things like buildings on the asset store, so I'll have to try that stuff out in the future. These were the main Soul Fighter sprites I was looking at as a reference. If I was smart, I probably would have annotated them first to really learn from them and take these lessons into my own design, but I was rushing, so I didn't. That was stupid.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So 3 hours came and went pretty fast, and by the end of it, I had only really come up with the details of the design and just about figured out the shapes of things like the hair. I didn't want to hand it in like this, so I gave myself another hour and a half, to just do the line art and colour it. I spent 30 minutes on the line art, trying to keep the energy of my sketch while keeping the lines themselves clean. Of course, I rushed it, so the lines still ended up looking sketchy, and I used the last hour to colour it. So I used 3 layers to colour in grayscale, just the lights, darks, and midtones. And then over the top I added a cell shading layer. I just set it to multiply and drew the shadows in with a hard round brush. I never cell shade, so this is actually really difficult for me. You need to figure out how to add enough shadows so that the image doesn't look flat while keeping the shape and even like composition in mind. It looked okay, I guess. I moved on quickly to spend the last 15 minutes throwing some random colours on top with a colour layer and tinting the shadows slightly red to make the whole thing pop a bit more. I had no palette set up, I just kind of threw on whatever colours I thought might look good. Another mistake to add to the list. If you want to know how I was feeling by the last 5 minutes, I almost scrapped even doing the challenge at all. I was so disappointed that this was apparently the best I could do. Okay, so I'm at the last 5 minutes of this character design and I hate it so much. It feels like there's so much missing. It feels so like, I don't know, like I didn't really know what I was doing in the first place, but like I was trying not to worry, and then like look at these lines, the lines are disgusting. The shading is horrible. I mean, I haven't used the round brush in a long time and I think it shows. And like I can't even blame the program because Clip Studio has been fine. It's been pretty good actually. It's not even like, it's salvageable. I just don't think I have the skill to like make it look good. I feel like I should just never have left my comfort zone. I should have just painted it.
We'll get them next time.
So when I came back to it the next day, I made a plan of things to fix and began working my way down the list. I painted over the drawing in grayscale, fixing aspects of the design, values, and silhouette, and just anything else that I thought didn't work. I made a silhouette of the bow with the symmetry tool and warped it into place in the character's hand before adding some values to sculpt it into a more 3D looking shape. I also redid the line art and drew over the paint over that I'd just done, taking more care this time to keep the lines clean.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
I ran out of time again and I still wasn't done, so I added another hour. Line art took up most of this extra hour. I went with my familiar technique of using the lasso tool to create a solid base for the silhouette so I could use it as a guide to keep inside the lines while I was colouring with clipping masks. I then added the values back in, going off of the paint over design that I'd done. Just the flat local values for now, since I'd add the cell shading after.
Mission failed.
Okay, you know what? No more timer. Clearly I'm way past my time limit by now. It took about another 2.5 hours to finish. I added my cell shading, trying to be bolder with the shadows. I moved on to colour using the same technique of a single colour layer as before, but I laid out a palette of colours to use this time, taking note of the kinds of colours that often got used in the Soul Fighter designs, so things like a desaturated purple and gold, for example. I made a lot of use of selection tools and shortcuts to keep things neat on the layer that I was using to colour, cleaning things up by hand where needed. There was a bit of trial and error when it came to which colours should go where. I'm mostly happy with the colours, although I'd change a few things, like some of the values of things like the paw prints or the inside colour. I think I would make that a bit lighter and probably the paw prints a bit darker. I then went and refined the colour layer without shadows just to make sure it was all neat. The last thing to do was the magical effect on the hands. It took a while to figure out how I wanted to do it. I decided to just go with drawing over the effect with a thicker tapered brush, and then erasing parts of it so that the line thickness varied the way it does in these designs for Sep. I also changed the value of the blue, making it slightly darker so that the blue was more saturated and vibrant. And then I attempted to continue following the sprite for Set, adding in the inner glow of the fiery effect. Then I added a little bit of graphic design just to emulate the concepts I'd been using as a reference. There's not much to say here, I just sort of took similar colours and, put the name large in the background. I went with Vix because a vixen is a female fox, so I don't know. I couldn't be bothered to come up with a better name, I don't know. And honestly, I think the background helps to carry the image a bit. I feel like it looked way worse just sitting on its own in white, so I'm kind of glad I bothered to do that. Once it was done, I just kind of threw a noise filter over the whole thing to give it sort of an old anime look. It's also present in the Soul Fighter art, but I mostly did it just because I like the texture that noise adds to designs like this. Otherwise they look a bit too clean, I don't know. So, final thoughts. I think it's okay, but ultimately it's gonna get lost in this big sea of other designs. I feel like I didn't nail the shape design as best as I could, that kind of thing. The whole workflow just did not speed anything up. I mean, it took way longer than it usually would to make something like this. And ultimately, I don't really like it very much. I think if I'd used some of the techniques that I was more familiar with, it might have come out better, but I can't say for sure. So I think ultimately my issue is with the style. Like, the style itself is fine. Like I said, I used those Soul Fighter references on purpose. I really, really like those. But when I do it, it just doesn't work for me. I think I'm a fan of like coloring and complicated values and stuff, and I'm not saying that I'm the best at that kind of thing, but it is something that I kind of enjoy. And I think what let me down here the most was probably my line quality. It's always been kind of lacking, and I don't know if it's that I'm just not confident enough with my strokes or my hands shake too much or something, but whatever it is, it's always constantly the thing I hate the most about my illustrations, and it's why I began just painting instead of doing line art. But I'm kind of in the minority. My friends liked it. A couple people said that the style looks professional, which honestly I'm not that convinced about. But one of my friends did say I should draw like this more. I'm not opposed to it. I think I need to try and explore the style and workflow a little bit more and try and reach a point where I'm happy with it. I'm hoping to try and do that and try out some more techniques and things over the course of this challenge. I'm probably not going to do every assignment just to give myself some breaks. But yeah, I'm just going to use the month to try and work on my skills and maybe put out more videos. I'm hoping to do about 4 to 6 assignments per week, so we'll see. I'll try and put out some videos, but honestly, I feel like every time I promise, it takes 1 month extra to make the video, so that's it really. Sorry, this one's more rambly. I'm just trying to get faster at recording my videos, so yeah. Well, if you're watching this, hope you enjoyed. You're probably one of like 20 people, but I will see you soon, maybe. I don't know. Bye.
This is Vix. I wanted to draw more stuff, but I ran out of time. Alright. I mean, it's nice, it's clean, it's crisp. It's got some, you know, good use of colors. I'm enjoying the bright pops of colors. Flame effect is not my favorite, but in general, things are going well. You know, there's a solidness there. I don't know, I feel like there's probably more room to like get a feel for a kind of personality for the artist, because I feel like I, you know, don't really get a strong sense of you know, what the artist's kind of point of view is. But it's nice, it's solid.